And young women, you are magnifying this problem by becoming pornography.
Travis Wingoodsall. You obtain a seed. It's given to you, and you plant it, and you feel good about it. Is that feeling the fruit? Obviously not. Why then, Mormons, do you think that getting a spiritual witness feeling over praying about fruit of a seed true? It's not. For you to get angry at me because you're that stupid is why everybody's laughing at you. Why 15 million Mormons have up and left the church. And so that makes you the dumbest of all to stay in the church. This video that I'm going over with you is seed of prophecy and revelation. It is the most important thing that your life can ever experience. Because I even did a prophecy video the other day. Anybody care to watch? No. Because you didn't judge me by my fruit. You had a spiritual witness feeling that said I'm false, and you ran away. Put a thumbs down and a hate comment and a death threat, such as Mr. TNT on my first vision bombshell. Again, Mormons demonstrate with the first vision that they have failed to study their scriptures properly. You're supposed to use Jewish interpretation, not Christian. No wonder you didn't produce any fruit. So Mr. TNT 1970 rules, as he needs to be locked up in prison, is also incapable of understanding this basic biblical process for judging what is true and what is false. He says, lest is not forget. You mean lest we not forget? This dude is the dude that ranted for months. So apparently he's been stalking me for months, not taking a proactive position to learn from me, not using the biblical process to test me by my fruits, which he should have seen the picture memes of the fruits of the biblical and Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith prophecies. Because you're supposed to judge the scriptures by their fruits. We've just finished the Latter Days this year. It's over, Mormons. You missed it. And you have no clue what fruit to look for, because you'd used Christian Jesus, who told you not to produce the fruits and judge him by feelings. So likewise, this guy is a pure hate-filled mongerer, as he is projecting. That which you falsely accuse in another because you're not finding out and judging by the fruits is what you yourself are guilty of to a worse degree. You know, beam and mode. That Bible thing. The end being near. What do you mean by end? Are you using Christian interpretation for the end? Where Jesus comes from outer space, murders people, kidnaps the righteous, holds them hostage, and then coups governments all over the world? Or are you thinking Trump is Jesus, as the vessel of Jesus? You do know, Mormons, that that's what Christians believe? Because Christians know that they're not worthy to be in the presence of Jesus, and so there are certain men who speak the words of Jesus, to have thy kingdom come, thy will be done upon them. And so like King Cyrus, which we get to talk about today, is believed to be the modern day equivalent of Trump winning the election. See, Mormons don't believe this, because Mormons believe that Jesus is non-Trinitarian. They've never tried to produce the fruits to test it for confirmation of truth or lie. They just have a spiritual witness feeling that it's true. So they don't believe Trump is who he says he is. And that is a great danger that Mormons are placed in, as they are easily conned by deceivers who want to hurt them. And yet they get mad when people mock them for not being scientific. Agronomy, it's a science. Seed to fruit, that's a scientific process. It's right there in the Bible. It's in the Book of Mormon. Mormons don't believe it. Mormons don't practice it. You got to practice what you preach. You don't preach the Bible or the Book of Mormon or Joseph Smith. And you're getting mad at me for it? You're the ones whose lives are in danger. And the mainline Mormon church crumbling. First of all, Brigham Young is a branch off. He's not a mainline. Did you run the test, Mormons? No. See, this was Brigham Young's trap. This Nevermo, who says, I am not Mormon, fell for the church's lie that they are the one true successor from Joseph Smith. And so here he is, parroting what the church told him to believe. Or it could just be a Mormon pretending not to be Mormon because he's ashamed to be Mormon. And hiding under the title of TNT 1970 Rules. Was that when AC/DC's album came out? Is that what he's referring to? I mean, we could check. Take some time for Google, who's still refusing to sell off Chrome. (1975). Released only in Australia and New Zealand on 1st December 1975. So, nope. That's not what he's referring to. See how I checked his fruit? And so, yes, if he had been paying attention, if he'd been following for years, if he did his research on the Mormon Church, if he had done his basic study of Jews and their scriptures, he would not have made this dumbass comment. This was a complete waste of his time to do this. This was pure hate on his part. If he doesn't believe my religion, then you need to go away. But because of Trump, these kind of creeps are popping out of the woodwork yet again. And so this is what he's trying to claim, is that it's all false. It never happened. That my fruit did not happen. And I've been showing you the picture. He should have seen the picture of the little chart thing that I have now. The final four that need to happen according to all scripture prophecy. And it has to do for government and for religion because they're separated. See, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints doesn't run the government yet. They may have put Trump on their puppet strings, Master of Puppets. I know when that album came out. Right, Ezra Taft Benson? Beaten tone my ass. I got your beaten tone right here. And so yes, Trump is well underway on having things happen, according to all prophecy. This is scare people. And so, underground resistance, hilarious. Acronym for underground resistance. All Mormons should know this word. Murdoch travel. Murdoch Chevrolet. They had the billboards with Murdoch with in a heart. That's a Jewish word, in case you were unfamiliar with it. Underground resistance of Mormons. And yet we have no underground resistance. You're just letting the church roll all over you. Just like everybody is caving to Trump. And this is what I warned you about, because you don't know Trump's words. You don't read his books, you don't listen to his words at his rallies. You watch Fox News and let them tell you what Trump said, and how you're supposed to interpret him, and how you're supposed to feel about him. You then get conned. And so Trump has been threatening to do a mass deportation. And it's not just the southern border people. But that's the big thing that everybody is diverting away from. You're not getting what Trump is planning on doing. You didn't watch my video on the Illuminati Danites. What was that, 3 hours? Dear God. And you didn't bother to even try to watch it? They have a pattern of practice that they've been using for 200 years. Shall we even say 250 years? Because their anniversary is coming up in 2026. So do you think Trump is going to celebrate the founding of America? No. This is what they're all plotting and planning for. The founding of the Illuminati on May 1st. When was the Nauvoo Temple dedicated, Mormons? Hey, it's got pretty stars on it. Remember, Joseph was murdered. I mean, seriously. Trump was put in specifically to destroy the world. To destroy America. He's not making America great again, guys. That's the cover story. This is their whole plot for the 250 years. They chose the Bible science from the Jews about the dates for the latter days to coordinate their attack and thus self-fulfill the self-fulfilling prophecy that they created in their own minds to be the bad people. Thus why the government side is well underway, just as I told you. And yet we're still waiting for the religion to fall, have a transfer of authority, an exodus, and the building of Zion. And isn't it just a coincidence that I'm the only one who knows about it? I'm the only one interpreting all scriptures in the learning of the Jews? And you won't judge me by my fruits, will you? And it's not just prophecy. It's revelation, star dates, not inspiration, translation, and visions and dreams. So, yeah, the Feast of Harvest, tabernacles, tents, came and went, Mormons. I'm in your midst, and you know me not. And you're complaining. No, Jesus, I feel he's true. You can't judge my feelings. Yeah, I can. Because you got no fruit. Therefore, you're judged. And you're found wanting. Real simple doctrine, real simple science. And Mormons are the laughing stock of the world for how conned they are by this church. I noticed that the site was working again after I posted the video. And all they're doing is pushing to have people pay them more money. That's all the church is doing. When you know the church is evil, because you ran the test, then everything they do is criminal, corrupt, wrong, abominable. You know, verse 19 of the first vision. And so, yes, this isn't for charity. This is solely for the church to profit off of. They use other charities to sucker you in. And so, yes, they'll give a percentage to them. And if those charities choose to use it for charity, rather than what the church uses the money for, that's up to them. This is a moneymaker for the church. And they're all in this year for the biggest con right here at the end. Because Trump is not only threatening a mass deportation for an exodus for the enemy, which means Governor Cox yesterday saying, yep, we're booting you out. See, we have 100,000 undocumented here in the state of Utah. They're technically illegal, but they've been allowed in America and are waiting for their trial to determine if they can go through the process to become a citizen. Every single year, in every single state, there are those who get approved to become citizens. Utah has a big celebration every year with the swearing in of the new citizens who've been approved. And it's always covered in the local news every single year. We've already had it this year because it's done earlier in the year. And so, yeah, another batch of people have been approved to be citizens. What Governor Cox said is that the rest of those who have yet to become citizens are now going to be deported. That Utah will no longer go through the process of documenting the citizens in accordance with federal constitutional law. Because Trump is now president. Anybody who watches local news here in Utah, you notice a big difference after Trump won? No? You didn't notice. It's blatantly obvious. Now, for the first time ever, local news is covering national news about Trump. Under Biden, Mormon crickets. Now that Trump won, oh yeah, Trump's had these guys put into cabinet positions. Oh, that Trump is going to do this. Oh, Governor Cox says he's going to assist Trump. Oh, this is what Trump said. See what's going on? And these are the same Mormons who don't believe Trump is Jesus. King Cyrus. Bye-bye, Garna Mejia. I tried to save you. She covered this story last night. Why are you purposely wanting to make all my efforts to save you in vain? Why, Mormons? You're going to be that proud and arrogant and defiant against the truth that you would rather die in shame and humiliation than admit that I was right trying to save your lives. Pathetic. So the other thing that's been in the news lately, there's more, but the news is only covering these two things. Trump is threatening tariffs. And again, the news is panicking. They're like shocked. Oh my goodness. They've forgotten that they used to report on Trump's books and Trump's rallies and Trump's first 4 years. Oh my hell. This is what he does. And we just got through it with those who he appointed to positions. The same pattern, guys. Hello? He tells us in The Art of the Deal, I throw out the craziest, most extreme thing first. And if I can get away with them, great. But those that I'm not allowed to get away with, I then put in somebody lesser extreme, but still extreme. Until he can get those through, and then he throws out other extremes along with it. His whole purpose is to destroy, to cause chaos, to cause fear and panic. He wants people to do his will, to let him get away with everything. And he is, isn't he? Bob Menendez, Senator Menendez, busted for his treason, taking bribes from a foreign government. Trump? Nope. Goes free. No punishment for him. Insurrection? Yeah, nope. Goes free. Violation of the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Got to run for president and win. And we all know he's going to run America into the ground and destroy it for the Illuminati in 2026. And I'm just going, oh my hell. Oh my hell. Is this a nightmare? Am I still sleeping? Are people just seriously just rolling over and letting this happen? Our federal government just rolled over and let it happen. The Democrats just rolled over, let it happen. You in America, you're just letting it happen? Blacks, women, LGBTQ, IAPO+, Hispanics, others, you're just letting it happen. You're not gonna resist. Unbelievable. Alright. So, because this isn't a formal thing, it's a social thing, you have to understand that I use associative memory. And so that there are things that get missed if I don't write them down. But I didn't put it into an official order for a script to read from. So, that's one of the weaknesses of associative memory. But because I don't want to memorize, this is why I have reference stuff. And so yesterday when I did the Benjamin Franklin Johnson video, again, I was under the impression of him being married, moving to Adam-on-Diamond. But when I went and found the actual site afterwards, when I was assembling the video together, I found that his first wife wasn't until after 1838. It was like 1841 or 1842. Remember, I don't memorize. I just remember in my associative memory that he was not married in 1838. And so, it doesn't ruin the whole message that I was giving, but you still need to understand that he flipped and became a Danite. But he wasn't among the chosen because he didn't have polygamous marriage until after Joseph is murdered. And then immediately he is given a second wife. These are the kinds of things you need to pay attention to when you're doing research. Because the people who are writing about him are telling him he was all in on Joseph's secret combination within his own religion to practice polygamy. No, his second wife was not until after Joseph is dead. So he was not in the circle. Unless he was in the circle in 1838 of having sex with other Danite wives. Which that may be. Nicolaitan banned from section 117. You missed that video, didn't you? Because you didn't test my fruit to find out if I'm true or if I'm lying to you. You know, like practicing priestcraft. Right, Oaks? Or did you miss that clip yesterday? You know, it's like it's conference weekend because everybody's going on vacation. I have no idea how to put this into an order. We're only in 30 minutes in. Let me do some checking and I'll get back to you here. Okay, so I was woken up at 2 in the morning, which added to my grumpiness, in which, in my dream, I was yelled at by somebody. And it woke me up at 2. So yeah, I went back to bed. But nonetheless, last night, as I was about to shut off the computer, yet again, if you've been following me this year, I get the idea to check on the month of December in the Jewish calendar. Hate it when I'm always right. No, I don't. You see, it would be nice to have a woman in my life who is with me to go over the Jewish calendar, and then we can have sex, to go over the scriptures, and then have sex, just to go over the research with the signs in the heavens, and then have sex. That is not to be my life, obviously. And so, yeah, I'm the only one who knows this information and who knows to know for looking for it. And so it's very frustrating that I have to do all the work. And again, remember, I don't memorize. I have reference books, so that when I get the inspiration, or through associative memory, I know what to look up for the reference material. And so that's what I did. I looked up the month of Kislev and went, oh, there it is. Oh my hell, I was right. Mormons are in great danger. You missed the Tabernacles feast of the house of Israel. And so now comes utter destruction. Just like I told you, that other guy who's been watching me for months was impatient. He wasn't going to wait any longer. He had set a time frame for me, and he couldn't wait any longer. So this is where stupidity becomes more stupid, as the fruits of stupidity is stupidity. Yeah. All prophecies and revelations have happened, Mormons, and it's all about you, Mormons. This is how blinded the church has made you. They're purposely going to destroy Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, so that in 2026, hey, that's when the Salt Lake Temple is gonna finally be finished. Why am I the only one catching on to this, guys? Why? Nobody judges me by my fruit. And so it's frustrating. So, yes, there are some events that have happened in Kislev. Probably should go over that first. That Mount Gerizim that I planned first. So hold on while I readjust the order. I'm only allowed to bring up one PDF at a time on my viewer. I'm not able to put up multiple ones like my Word program can. And so we got 9/11 coming this month. And so some other fun stuff also coming. We're going to do the calendar after I do the scriptures about what I'm going to go over with you from the month of Kislev. As it's loading, and it's still loading. Okay, remember, the Jews' calendar is both religion and civil, using the same months and days of the months. It's just that the religious calendar starts their new year in the beginning of the year, and the civil new year is at the end of the year. And remember also that Joseph Smith likewise knows this and is using his stories in the visionary accounts on purpose with Jewish calendar dates. The forming of the church, the whole thing. Pay attention to the Jewish calendars. You're supposed to be doing this for your research. Don't let me do all the work and then you ignore my video. It's too long. I'm not getting the right feeling. Because there's some real cool stuff that you're missing. Not just from the Book of Mormon, starting in the year 2017. Okay. Kislev has the Hebrew word Orion that is used in the Bible for it. Kissel. And so they think it has something to do with that, but again, they've lost the whole meaning of Paleo-Hebrew. And since I'm the only one who deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, yeah, sure enough, there's Osiris right there in the center of the name. That's the S symbol, is the symbol of the Dej pillar of Osiris. Thus Orion was for the Egyptians Osiris. That's why. And they've forgotten it. They have no clue why. But I just told you, because, oh no, you didn't judge me by my fruits of translator? And so in Wikipedia on Kislev, it goes over in Jewish history and tradition during the specific month. And this is important to understand because the Bible is not literal history. That was Constantine's first creed, which, remember, Joseph Smith said is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. They are prophecy and revelations. And so when you read over this, you need to understand when they're referring to Bible stuff, it's not real. This is Jewish tradition that they're using here. Don't use it as literal history, but see if it has any application for the prophecy and revelation of the latter days. So for example, on the 14th of Kislev, which will be the 15th of December, our calendar is one day ahead of the Jewish calendar this year for this month. Also remember, this year in the Jewish calendar was a leap year, which means they add second Adar, the whole month, to their calendar system. This is the date of the birth and death of Reuben. The dates they're using here, 1568 BCE for the birth, is because of the Rambam, who went in and did his chronological time frame because he got fooled by Roman Emperor Constantine's first creed that the Bible is literal history, and that their assemblage of the Latin Vulgate and then the Septuagint in the order that they put it in, because the first creed says it's historically literal, therefore they put those books in that order. Whereas certain books, like the book of Job, they weren't sure where to put it. Because Job is quite amusing. It's not a real history. And so when you read over it, you see in the beginning, the sons of God are going to the temple to worship, and then you have a whole story about Satan and Jehovah who are saying, mankind is wicked. Let's put it to the test with this guy named Job. And you've never been to a Mormon Brigham Young endowment ceremony video? Peter, James, and John go down to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, or in East of Eden, wherever they were, and so on. Yeah, none of that is real in the temple. Peter, James, and John did not come to Adam and Eve. Brigham Young made it all up to force you to obey. And you fell for it. Okay, and so the death of Reuben also is on that day, supposedly in 1445 BCE, according to the Rambam. You need to have this background understanding so that you don't get conned and think that Reuben was real, because there it is in Wikipedia. And the son of the seer, that's what Reuben means in translation from Paleo-Hebrew, by the way. And it has to do with Ezra. We're getting to it. On 15th of Kislev. This is important because Passover and the two tabernacles, Jews and northern Israel, are on the 15th day of the month, always. And so here, after the two tabernacle months, you now have the 15th afterwards, which is preparing us for Hanukkah, in which the Greeks set up the abomination of desolation in the temple. Now this has already been done, it's already been fulfilled. Right, Nelson? Technically Brigham. And thus the temple needs to be set in order. Section 85, verse 7, about the Jewish Christ who Joseph calls here the one mighty and strong. And everybody thinks he's a separate character. He's a different person, because Jesus has to be thrown in somewhere. And they purposely did not footnote it to Deuteronomy 18:15. Neither did Deuteronomy 18:15 get reference to that. I tried. It was rejected. Right, David? It's Jesus! No. No, it's not. And so, sorry, Spanish speakers. You do not have Deuteronomy, or Doctrine and Covenants, section 85, verse 7 in Deuteronomy, as I put there to be done. Little did I know it would be me. I was in their midst. I even had the Jesus card, and they still rejected what I recommended. So the 16th of December has to do with this. This is real history. This actually happened. The Greeks did conquer the area and did take possession of the second Jerusalem temple and began doing their worship not just the sacrifices on the altar. They're leaving something out. Right, Mormons? Right, Oaks? You need to pay attention to my videos. Like I said at the beginning clip, the other day I gave you a prophecy video as I'm going over the Book of Mormon, as I'm commenting on the Book of Mormon. I am prophesying. I didn't realize it when I was doing the video. It was when I was listening over the video that it occurred to me. I just prophesied to these people, and nobody's most likely listening. You are not judging me by my fruit. You are judging me by your Christian bias, which is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. How hard is this to figure out? I mean, these little things you're supposed to be writing down. Christianity, all wrong, abominable, corrupt. And so why are you putting Jesus in the Book of Mormon, in Joseph Smith's first vision? Because it's all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. Use the Jews. Run the tests. And so, it's not just that the Greeks took over possession of it and were offering their sacrifices to their gods. And thus why the Qumran community says no bacon. It's because the Greeks offered pigs on the altar, which the Jewish law would allow for it. It's just that because of the Greeks and what they did with this abomination of desolation, that the Jews forbid the practice of pig bacon. You can be a big pig too. It's the same thing for the forbidding of offering a kid goat seethed in his mother's milk. It's because that was the Babylonian practice to Molech, something like that. And that's how they did their worship, was to take a goat and sacrifice it in its mother's milk. And so thus the Jews, wanting to be separate from the other religion, said, we're not going to be like the Babylonians. You know, the whole story of Daniel. Oops, the Jews failed. Everything, this is the Babylonian calendar. Even though this month is slightly spelled differently in Babylonian, by the way, as the Wikipedia page will tell you. But it's very similar. There's just like an M or something different with this. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Why do you put the line under that? Don't do that. Era Kislimu. So instead of Kislev, it's Kislimu. And mu is a Babylonian Semitic ending, if you didn't know. So, and most likely that Kislev, as I look and see here, that was used as a vowel in the biblical Hebrew text. And that's why it's not in Babylonian. And so it's Kisel, technically, is the name of the month. And thus Kislemu, with the Babylonian ending at the end of it. So you can just cut that off, and there it is, Kisel. See? Are you going to judge me by my fruit? No? You like the feeling of seed in your hands, don't you? You do know and understand that that's why Christians are wanting to promote sperm over the rights of a woman? Because seed is fruit. And you all fell for it. You're just letting it happen. The Democrats and women are just complaining, not taking action. They violated the 14th Amendment, Section 1, and you're just letting them happen. How my hell? Mixing up my words. You're just letting it happen, just letting them get away with it. God. Okay, so we also have some other events from this time period, not just the 25th always being the start of Hanukkah. And so thus the 26th of December is the first day of Hanukkah. But remember, the Jews start their days on the day before in the evening at 6 p.m. And so Christmas Day Eve is the start of Hanukkah. And that's when the Jews had taken back the temple and removed the abomination of desolation, the altar of stones, and then set up the candelabra. That the oil, because of the war, they didn't have any oil for the lamps. So the harvest was utterly destroyed. And so what little they did have was a miracle to last the full time, and thus the celebration of it. But because Christians took possession of the book of Maccabees and put it in their Septuagint, the Jews do not accept that document, even though that's exactly why they celebrate Hanukkah, is from the story told about it in the book of Maccabees. When Christians touch it, Jews don't want it. So the New Testament, Jews don't want it. But they had to have something for them, and so they claimed the Christian selected Old Testament passages for their Masoretic text. Keep going, Jews, you got more scriptures that even Christians rejected. Like the book of Ezra with the eagle and the lion. I did that video at least a couple of times. And yes, this has to do with this today, this year. And so I may end up having to do an Ezra revised video for you, or upgraded video for you, in the context in which it's being fulfilled right now. Also on the 25th of Kislev, this is when the Greeks began offering up the sacrifices in the temple. And so the 15th is when they set up the altar, taking down the one from the Jews and putting theirs in. And then 10 days later, they began to dedicate the temple to the Greek god for the Jewish temple, and thus offered the first offerings. And then the prostitutes were hanging outside, waiting for men to pay the tithing to have sex with them in the temple, with temple ceilings. The abomination of desolation of the Greeks. Screwing up the rituals and instituting prostituting of women. Right, Oaks? Right, Mormons? Section 119 is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. Criminally corrupt. And Mormons don't want to listen to it. They don't want to believe that their payment of tithing to only have sex with someone they get sealed to in the temple means that their wife is a prostitute. And women especially don't want to hear it. What the bleeping hell is wrong with you? And here's a bombshell. 27th of Kislev, which is the 28th. It's during Hanukkah. This is when the flood rains ceased. There's more to this. Because back on the 20th of Kislev, Ezra addresses a 3-day assemblage of Jews in Jerusalem, telling them to adhere to the Torah and to dissolve their interfaith marriages. Remember, Greeks would come in, replace the rituals of the temple, and prostitution with the Greek women. Interfaith marriages. Sex. See what's going on here? No? Why am I all alone on this? Why? And if nobody's even listening because you were offended when I talked about having a woman with me going over the scriptures, then having sex, going over the star charts, then having sex, going over the Jewish calendar, then having sex. You didn't make the connection, did you? Or did you? I'd be impressed. But where are you, women? Where are you? You're hiding. I mean, seriously, I don't think women are watching my channel. I can check today to see if women are watching my channel. YouTube allows for that analytical distinction. But typically men are the ones who watch my channel, and they work for the church, and they are there at Temple Square, and they narc to Nelson. No, Travis said this. Mormons. Okay, and so the next day, this would be literal history. Ezra is not. That never happened. That's what we're getting to. It's scripture. And so thus, it's written in the context of post-Babylon Persian period. But it demonstrates that it has a knowledge of the Greeks having taken over the temple and getting it back. This is when they're writing about it in the Roman period. And so thus is talking about interfaith marriages, is this Greek practice in the Jerusalem temple during the Greek occupation until the Maccabean revolt, underground revolution, or underground resistance. Should that be the theme song? I think it should. South Park, La Résistance. Those Canadians, which is perfect. Trump tariffs on Canada. Yeah, Canada is already concerned. They know that if they were to cave to Trump's 25% tariffs on Canadian products, that to run a business in Canada would be worthless. It would destroy businesses in Canada. This is what Trump is doing. He's destroying the economy with these tariffs. The economy of the whole world. And you think that Biden got away with high prices? Yeah, just wait till Trump gets in. And seriously, Trump was the one who caused the orange crisis. From reading my post that morning. The oranges of the investigation. That was me. You're welcome. Trump was not very happy with me for that. Because he leaks. He just lets things fly off his tongue, and so things leak. And so when he said oranges of the investigation, he had oranges on his brain and mixed it when he was wanting to say origins. But because of my post that morning that he read and found out about, see, he didn't want to help the people of Florida get back to normal. And so the cost of orange juice skyrocketed after that. Dear God, $2 higher. And it still has never come down. But yeah, with Trump and the tariffs, yeah, it will be impossible to pay for things, people. You are not concerned with what's coming. You are not fearing what's coming. You're not preparing for what's coming. Because your spiritual witness feeling says that Trump is the true president. And he's going to make America great again. With your sign of the beast in your forehead baseball cap. From Revelation 13. No, that's the Antichrist. Yeah. Trump is the Antichrist. Duh. But that's the government part. There's a religious part with the false prophet. Are you incapable of reading your book of Revelation? And so, on the 21st, this is a real historical event that did happen. The Samaritan Temple. Was it the Samaritan Temple? Yes, it was. Sort of. I've done this video already for you. Already covered it with 1 Kings chapter 12. You really do need to trust me. You really do need to help me with studying. So that you follow along. See, Stanford, where was your commentary on this? You know, Stanford does it right. He's doing his studying and research. But, yeah, I'm not hearing too much since he was doing scripture stuff. He did the one, I think that was you, wasn't it, Stanford? That the 1 Kings chapter 12 I ended up covering. Was that because of you and your comment that you made? I think so, but it's been so long and I don't memorize. But regardless, the Samaritan Temple at Mount Gerizim was destroyed by John Hyrcanus. That's the Maccabean revolt. They not only took back the Greek temple, but they went after the Samaritans also. in the war. He was a Maccabean of that group. They were taking back their land. They got fed up after the abomination of desolation, which 167 BCE was the abomination of desolation, and then the 128 BCE was the Maccabean revolt destroying the temple. And so that's where Mormons need to pay attention to. See, because the Greeks and the Maccabean revolt are literal history, but they are used in Scripture for the prophecies of the latter days from Ezra. This is what I've been trying to teach you all these years. Okay? So this is what you need to have in mind when we go over this. So now I think we got to go back to Mount Gezerim. Gezerim, yeah. You're one in a million. Da, 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 da. They're even using, they're claiming Hebrew, but that's Greek. I can't blow it up. That's the weakness of the Adobe Reader Touch for PDFs. I can't blow up the picture like I can do for pictures, or for even the Word. I can enlarge the font. Okay. Yeah, this is from the Gezer tablet or something like that. That my associative memory is reminding me of this particular form of Paleo-Hebrew, which is very close to the Hebrew that I use for you on academia.edu. And so thus, technically it's Har Gezerim, the mountain of Gezerim. What are they giving as the translation for it? They're saying it, yeah, Gerizim. Ger is the Son of Man, God. The Z, using the wrong one, but fascinating. The Z is technically the I from Greek, but they're using a different character, which is not the Z. But again, I need to blow this up. Anyway, it's the biblical city of Shechem. 1 Kings chapter 12. Also Joshua. Joshua, in his story about the latter days, Mormons going to Zion, and they set up on Shechem. They set up Shechem, the temple there, and begin the first sacrifices, having reached the promised land, Zion. And they're dwelling in tents. All has to do with everything, dear. Guys. I'm already thinking that I have a woman with me studying. That's how lonely I am. And so likewise, in 1 Kings chapter 12, they then put it in the time period of the divided kingdom of Solomon. Solomon's dead, the two sons split the kingdom in half, north and south. And so the northern king, Jeroboam, has the sun symbol in it, I think, if I remember correctly. I think both of them do. Rehoboam and Jeroboam. But the northern king, which is not real, sets it up to have that location that Joshua had previously offered sacrifices on as their holy site for their temple, and then did a Aaron thing of a golden calf, put one at the one place and the other at Shechem for the tribe of Dan, the Danites, with the temple, Mount Ephraim, prostitution of women. Even the story of Dinah getting raped. The 12 sons, or the 10 sons, the northern Israel sons, used in the text by the biblical author of Genesis, will our sister be treated as a prostitute? All the same theme thread with every Jewish author. They're just telling the prophecy of the latter days in a different story. This is what you got to pay very close attention to. And so now it's being called Mount Gerizim under the Greeks. But it's the same location. And so it is a legitimate place, but for the Samaritans, who were Assyrians, but around 700 BCE, when the Assyrians came in and conquered the land, they did a deportation process. They took the rich elite of northern Israel and deported them into Assyria to live there, to assimilate into Assyria, like grafting of the olive branches of the olive tree. Jacob, you know, you've got a vine that's struggling, and so you take from a good vine a branch that you graft into the weaker one, and the weaker one you graft back into a good one. That's Assyria's process. And so Assyrians were removed from their land that the northern Israelites were put in, and they were taken to northern Israel. And they interfaith married with the poorer Israelites left behind to produce what we now call the Samaritans. Okay? Interfaith marriage. So the Samaritans thus claim Mount Gerizim to claim that it's Mount Shechem from the Bible stories that are not real. They're turning them real. Literal history. Who was the first one to introduce that which is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt? Yeah, the first creed of Christianity, of Constantine. So even the Samaritans have been deceived. Constantine's damage was worldwide spread. And still to this day, there are over 4 billion people still believing, because of their spiritual witness, feelings of the seed that will never produce the fruits, and thus you will know it by its fruits as false, because it's not real. Amusion. Dear God, the most simplest and basic of human existence, and nobody can get it right? How do you guys live? Alright. Let's find the other places that I found. Okay. Yeah, after the Exodus, the Israelites performed ceremonies of blessings as they had been instructed by Moses. No, that's not literal history. That was the Joshua thing. Alright. Okay, they also believed that it towered above the great flood, and thus is the mount that Noah's ark landed on. And yet Christians are sure that the Bible is true as literal history because we found the ark in Turkey. No, Samaritans say no. It's Mount Shechem, Mount Ephraim of the Danites, Utah. And sure enough, Brigham Young is the one responsible for claiming in the forged document, section 116, of Joseph Smith going to Adam-on-Diamond of the Danites. Remember Benjamin Franklin Johnson? Remember section 117? And said that this was the altar upon which Adam offered sacrifices. East of Eden. What is west of Adam-on-Diamond? Utah. Boom, baby. Prophecy fulfilled. What the bleep, Mormons? What the bleep? How can you all miss this? Oh, right. Hold on. Abominable. Corrupt. The Danites are not smart enough to self-fulfill this. They just did by being evil. Oh my God. But there's more with this Noah thing, because we're not ready for Ezra yet. Oh my God. It's just unbelievable. Matthew chapter 24. Son of man. Did you catch that video yesterday when I went over Joseph Smith is the Son of Man also? Oh, you missed that, huh? So you're going to judge me by my seed rather than the fruit? Verse 37, Matthew 24, about the latter days. all ties together. They already told Mormons not to go to Deseret. You didn't listen. And so here we come, Mount Ephraim of the Danites. As in the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And again, Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5 is the 23rd of September 2017, the start of the ministry. Matthew at the beginning, chapters 1 and 2, tell us that the Christ will come on the 23rd of September 2017 to Mormons in Utah. Mount Ephraim of the Danites. Prophesied by Jews 2,000 years ago. And they plagiarized the Egyptian documents. This is just so incredibly awesome. And not a single Mormon is still listening to my video anymore. Because they won't run the test. Because if they ran the test, they would still be listening. They would want to hear every single word that comes out of my mouth. They would want to be wanting to do their research. Women would be wanting and begging me to be studying with me. At least in my pipe dreams. All men would want to be me. All women. This is what he's talking about. The tradition of the Shechem. Because it was... The Tower of Babel was actually Lebanon, Beirut. Has to do with Osiris. And so coming after Noah puts it in that location. But Christians turned it literal history. And so pay attention here. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying. Interfaith marriage. Prostitution. Eating and drinking is also the Feast of Dionysus. Giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. 23rd September 2017. This was not included in my pre-planning. This is as we did the video. See, I can have these notes, but without writing it into a script. And if it was a script, I'd miss this, if I missed it in the script. But most likely this would have been included because of the Noah thing from the calendar date. Okay? This is what it's talking about here. It gives you the day and the hour, not just the prophecy. But Christian blinders keep you from seeing the prophecy. This is not the one, it's the other one. I have to go back and bring it up. Okay? And so I don't remember. Oh, here it is. I wrote it down. 27th of Kislev. therefore the 28th of December. Okay? That's the whole thing of the creation. Genesis chapter 1. The waters were parted, dry land appears. This is also the Egyptian Heliopolis, as well as the Ogdod creation stories. The prophecies. They're not literal histories. This is how I was able to figure out Egyptian after deciphering Paleo-Hebrew. It's because of my associative memory. It's real easy to translate Egyptian. I don't know why Egyptologists can't do it. Okay, so, because I was told that you can't use Egyptian comparisons or translations with the Bible because it's taboo. No, you have to. But this Christian abomination is what resulted in that, keeping people away from knowing the truth. Right, Mormons? Oh, wow. Yeah, Benjamin. Well, yeah, the month of Kislev is dedicated to Benjamin. That's assigned to him. Out of the 12 months, the 12 tribes, Benjamin is Kislev. Yep. Benjamin Franklin Johnson. Dum 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 dum. Also, it's the location, not literal history, Abraham sacrificing Isaac. Oh my God! We got to go to the internet for this one to bring up the book. Should still be here on Amazon. I think this was done in December of 2016 when I found this. Like I said, I was doing a full-on purge of last-minute research because I knew I'm the only one who knew the information. Let's make sure the camera is still running. Yep. Okay. Amazon. Hell, Google, you suck. When are you selling? It's in my big book of signs also. It was published in 2017. Birth of Jesus. Hello? Google, leave it alone. There it is, the sign of Christ's birth. No, it was the 13th of March, 2017. Yeah. I should have... oh my God. It was after February, so I couldn't have done it. Sign of Christ's birth. I don't see the stars. Yeah, nobody's reviewed it. Apparently nobody bought the book. We can do the other Kindle version, see if people bought this. Kindle. Yeah, nobody cared. Interesting. Alright, your loss. 8 April 4 CE over Russia. Annular eclipse. Solar eclipse. And thus ties into the Book of Mormon to let you know about the Exodus year. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. 4 CE. This is how I found it. And so, I followed the Mormon tradition and started with the 6th of April in my Urim and Thummim. And saw that the moon was almost to the sun. And so I then went ahead and saw when it was a new moon, and saw that it was very close to the sun, and so I went and checked where on earth would it be located to see if it would be an eclipse. Sure enough, it was difficult to find the Russian city that is close to it, but I did for the picture. I still have it in this file, I think. You're one in a million. Is it here? Or is it there? There it is. Because I recently this year trimmed the picture down to just show the one from that day. So, to remind you of Abraham sacrificing Isaac, because you all forgot, Abraham takes his son Isaac, of the main wife, 2 failed marriages, prophecy, symbol pattern, not polygamy, to the top of the mountain, Utah, Mount Ephraim, Danites, Shechem, Gezerim, or Gerizim. And Isaac is saying on the hike up, because he's also prophesied to be a hiker of mountains. Just to throw that out there. Remember, he fulfilled everything. It's me. I did it. Got the 5 Peaks Award. Southern California, I'm a legend down there. Because they abandoned me up in the mountains. And so I got blamed for it. I didn't get to go to Carl's Jr. with my $20. And the church wanted me to pay tithing on it. Dear God. Hell no. Bleep you. And so Isaac is telling Abraham, where's the lamb for the sacrifice? Trust in the Lord. Dad, what's going on? I promise I'll clean my room. Dad, Dad. They get to the top of the mountain, and he ties him up, puts him on the altar, and is gonna kill him. So a messenger comes and says, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant, let's eat." No, he offers up a ram rather than a lamb. That's how I found this. Mercury is slightly cut off. Need to have mercury put in. Uranus is not one of the 5 visible planets, so you can ignore Uranus when you're using your Urim and Thummim. But Aries constellation, solar eclipse, and Mercury. This is Emmanuel's sign of his death. In Aries. So we go 2020 years into the future. '2020 is the Exodus year, by the way. Been there, done that, fulfilled. You didn't judge me by my fruit, did you? Let Mormons go. They said no. And you blame me. The big event this year that the whole world saw together. My death sign. The solar eclipse was now in Pisces. On the back of the white horse. Revelation 19, 11, and 17. Notice that John, author of John in Revelation, talks about the Lamb. He's talking about Isaac. He's talking about the Jewish Christ, Emmanuel. In fact, I think it's verse 12 that he says, Amen. He has a name that no man knows but he himself. That's Amen, the Egyptian sun god at noonday. Jupiter is the man-child from Revelation chapter 12, verse 1, 2, and 5. This is your Christ, Mormons. This is me. With the sign in the heavens and the likeness of things on the earth. I am Jupiter. You were supposed to be running the test. Nelson is Mars, because when Monson died, Mars was at the top of the scales of judgment, joining me, but he was on top. He is who you think is the one true prophet of Jesus. Nelson is Mars, I am Jupiter, because of the 23rd of September 2017, I was first. And Jupiter on 8 April 2024 was boom, right there in Aries. This was used as a prophecy in Revelation for the latter days prophecy and revelation. The Jewish author of the book of Genesis used that event to prophesy of the future event, and thus why Joseph Smith Sr., remember, not literal history, when rewriting the Book of Mormon's 116 pages, while Junior's on timeout for the year, puts this in, and puts it in the context of 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem in 597 BCE, the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, king of Judah, but tells you that the date is 2017 because he would go on to have the vision of Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. Who's a prophet? Who's a seer? Who's a revelator? Who's a translator? Who didn't test? How many more times do I have to keep proving myself until you begin to believe? This was not expected to be brought up in the video, but is a natural consequence of doing this video. This is the fruit of this video. Catch on to a theme. You missed the harvest. You revealed your fruits as all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. You missed your exodus. Twice. Now do you understand better why Oaks, when he got leaked this year, how I found it, from a little sister missionary on March 14th, oh, I'm starting to forget the day, 2020, in which Oaks said, 2020 is a test run for the coming of Jesus. So we're going to do mass murder, and we're going to have a rigged election to test for 2024. And Mormons still are in denial despite all the videos I've done this year on this. Mormons refuse to repent. This is a hard-heartedness that cannot be chiseled. Mormons have to fall and be forced to be compelled to believe, with the biggest faith crisis that any person has ever experienced on the face of the earth, all thanks to the fruits of Roman Emperor Constantine's first creed of Christianity, mingled with Brigham Young. Not understand why I want to retire. Still don't get it, do you? But you see how all these tie together. The Jews have no clue what they're doing. The Samaritans have no clue what they're doing. It's just tradition. We don't know why. It's just tradition. And so the Samaritans have only 3 pilgrimages, and they all deal with the Exodus. Didn't check. Shavuot. God, Google, sell already. My hell. Get AI off the top of the screen. Okay, Shavuot, the 6th day of the Hebrew month of Sivan, which is typically between May and June. Rabbinical tradition teaches that the date also marks the revelation of the 10 Commandments to Moses on Mount Sinai. And the beginning of the counting of the Omer. It means weeks. Thus directly linked to Passover. Well, it's not the Torah, guys. 10 Commandments is the law. And the law is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Unbelievable. Yeah, no, it's not giving the Torah, it's giving the 10 Commandments, which came from the Qumran community, because it has the Sabbath in it of the Babylonians. But nonetheless, he is the Lord of the Sabbath, taking the Babylonians and restoring it. Thus Daniel interpreting Nebuchadnezzar's statue idol god Jesus dream. Babylon conquered them, and so thus, in the end, the Jews get restored. With the rock at the top of the Mount Ephraim. Yeah, the church is correct that the rock is Utah. The top of the Utah rolling down. But not. They're the villains of the story. Hilarious. See how it all ties together? This is how you're supposed to be doing your study of the scriptures. Look for the patterns. And I know it's tough because you don't have associative memory, but that's why it's important to have a notebook, to be taking the notes, to having the papers. I tell you this when you're doing church history research. Have separate papers for people, places, dates, events, so that when you find a pattern match, you can then tie in all the research together. This is the same thing for studying your scriptures. Each story needs to be taken separately, but identify the patterns of the story in their connection with other stories. None of this is supposed to be literal history. This is just incredible. And yes, for all three, they have the sacrificial lamb. It's unbelievable. Are we done? Can we finish? We're already at 2 hours. So let's go through this. Israelites, Shechem, Samaritans, First Kings. All right, we have the signs. Or the scripture. Oh man, we didn't even do the scripture part yet. Crap. You've got nothing to do for Thanksgiving. You're just going to watch my 5-hour video, aren't you? I did the 6-hour video series last year. Nobody watched that. That exposed the ledger of the church of Brigham Young. That the church rushed out before Thanksgiving to try to claim that Section 119 is therefore true, Travis. No, it's Brigham Young having his Judas Prize for the murder of Joseph Smith and fleeing of the country to replace Section 85 to make him the good guy. No, not authorized. Oh, right. 9/11, Hitler ordered the extermination of the Jews. Ninth Ave has been the bane of the Jews. So when Babylon destroyed the first temple, it's the same date that Rome destroyed the second temple. And here, in 1941, Hitler gets up on that very day and says he's calling for the extermination of the Jews. "9/11, from the origin of the Jews." And we also have to talk about how it fits in the calendar for the prophecies. God, just unbelievable. Because I can't do a separate video, because you'll come to the second video and not watch the first video, and you're not going to understand any of it. I have to do a full, long video and you won't get to this explanation part because you get bored not believing the first part. Oh my hell. Okay, so we need this part for Ezra's discussion, so I can't throw you away yet. Eagle and the signs. That's a separate project to go over the signs in the heavens with you, because I still need to obtain the particular signs in the heavens this month. I already did the Hanukkah ones, and I showed you in the video the Hanukkah ones because of the curse of Joseph Smith at the last day of Hanukkah for 2025 on January 2nd, the quadrant with meteor showers from Revelation chapter 12 verse 4. Because that's when Monson died. And I told you, I'm seeing the potential of Hanukkah, and I'm pissed, and I don't want it to be. But if that's the curse of Joseph Smith, to extend that one, thus the fall of the church could extend into Hanukkah. I did the videos and the other guy didn't listen. Nobody's listening. Nobody's running the test to see who I am. Okay, so we went over that. Okay, so we just have the book of Ezra. It's the same thing. That's the Greek is Esdras. That's why it's included in the Apocrypha in Ezra. I think it actually is a separate book. No, second Esdras, yeah. I don't. Whatever. Okay. Just unbelievable. I do the pictures for you, and it's still, you're confused. Huh? Nelson is the golden cow? Altar? The pictures still have relevance, even though the Feast of Tabernacles is over with. Dear God. So wait a minute. I need to keep the dates. I'll have to use the PDF version, I guess, because those are not the best. Oh my hell. There goes my day. You'll get this later on next week. Maybe 5 years from now. Bible, dates, events. December 24. Okay. Projects. I think we can go to Exodus now, Ezra now. Let's stop this video. And do that on a separate recording. So, Mormons just are not smart enough to self-fulfill the prophecies of their wickedness. That should probably be the title of the video, and it would scare all Mormons away or anger them to put a thumbs down and run away and not listen. And so, to go over it, because I had to write them all out, we were finding so many connections, weren't we? And then having sex in between. So, Genesis chapter 1, the creation story, that's all about this Mount Ephraim of the Danites. The Noah story, likewise. Abraham sacrificing Isaac. The rape of Dinah. There at Shechem. And Joshua offering sacrifices there with tents. 1 Kings chapter 12. For the divided kingdom of king of northern Israel. Ezra and Esdras. And I even found another video to also do for you, Revelation 14. That's also talking about it, which helps explain chapter 19. That also is talking about it, which gives you the date of this year, which everybody is talking about this year. Unbelievable. Alright, so yeah, I just, do I flood the beginning with pictures galore? Or do I force you to watch and you won't, and so you won't understand and you miss the content of the video? So in chapter 7 we get some names. Ezra is introduced. So the first part is the context of the book, and it's using the historical event of Cyrus, king of Persia, saying that the Jews can go back to Judah and rebuild their temple. So, Ezra chapter 1 verse 2, Thus saith King Cyrus, king of Persia, The Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah, Utah. Mount Ephraim, Danites, all the same. They're all prophecy. So even though this was a literal history, it is being used by the author of Ezra for this end, the prophecy. And so it's also used in the context of Babylon, conquering, usurping the religion, corrupting the temple rituals, needing it to be set in order. The one mighty and strong, who is the man like Moses. So Ezra is a man like Moses Christ figure by the Jewish author. Ezra is spelled in Paleo-Hebrew to mean the sun in the sky is seer. And so thus the two eyes of Horus are associated with the sun god Amun at noonday. That's right. And so thus he is the Christ, prophesied of the future. He's me. Run the test. It's the theme. Run the test. You won't run the test. So the spelling of his name tells you who he is. He is another version of Emmanuel. He is said to be the son of Sariah, and that's just Prince of Yah, Israel. Just add a Yah at the beginning, and then replace it with L at the end. Yah, Prince of God. Here you have Prince of Yah. And so it's the same concept. Ezra is the Christ, and he's the son of the Prince of Yah. Azariah, who is the father of Sariah, has Ezra in the name, and then Yah instead of the A at the end of Ezra. So it's Ezra-Yah. And it's the universal symbol of the sun at the beginning. So it's an interesting play on spelling of names that he's using here. But since this is not literal history, they're purposely done as they are. So you see a lot of Yahs in here. Goes back to the Egyptians. And so he was a scribe, as well as a Cohen priest. And oh yeah, 7 verse 2. Oh yeah, Zadok. So you have Ezra, son of Sariah, son of Azariah, Yah, son of Hilkiah, son of Shallum, the son of Zadok. That's high priest. He's a Cohen, not a Zadok. Again, Melchizedek priesthood versus Aaronic priesthood. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has no authority for the Melchizedek priesthood. As missionaries, they baptize. Aaronic priesthood labors. Took Joseph out of your midst, and the holy priesthood also, to Mount Ephraim with the Danites, and only the Aaronic priesthood keys to baptize. See, because Brigham Young was a wicked man, his authority as the president of the 12 basically ended. But nonetheless, I've done those videos numerous times. No authority. So none of the other callings do they have authority for. It's just a Aaronic priesthood. Prophecy fulfilled, guys. Prophecy fulfilled. And we want to get to the speech where he tells people not to have sex with Danites, to get a divorce. Where is that? Here it is, chapter 9. We're not going into a full-on detailed study. We're already over 2 hours into the video. Only one of you may be listening at this point. I'll let you guys choose who it is. Right, we have Motab. This is for the discussion after this about what's coming up in the future. I've got it on the screen, so I shouldn't have to refer to it any further. Let's get that out of my way. And so I did the little chart, which I'll probably do a picture at the beginning for you, of the significant days in Kislev and when they are this year. So, projects. And Signs in the Heavens is a project with Ezra and now Revelation. Probably should have written this down. Oh no, I got it on this other paper. Okay. Alright. Done. Moving on. Okay. Many Jews intermarry with and follow the abominations of the Canaanites and others. Ezra prays and confesses the sins of all the people. And Billy did this. Sally did that. I'm confessing your sins. Oh, Bruce. How hast thou fallen from heaven, oh, Bruce Armaconki, son of the morning. Thou saidest that thou shalt know no better than thou knowest now. Oh my God. All right. I guess we start right from the beginning. Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the author is speaking in first person, as if he were Ezra. The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the Danites. See, this is where I've briefly touched on, as there are many who have been following me who are having marital problems or who have had marital problems. I myself have had marital problems being married to a Danite wife. 2 of them, both failed marriages. And so I'm very well aware of this, and we get to talk about it, I guess, a little bit at least. Because you cannot have a relationship where you're not on the same page. And if you're married to a spouse who believes that a spiritual witness feeling about a seed is fruit, your marriage is doomed. I see too many Danite women in the singles wards back in my lifetime who were wanting to marry fruit. They were judging the guys for their accomplishments, and thus they remain single. Because a Mormon man who is still in an older singles ward, now it's 35 or 36 when you go into the older singles wards, rather than 31. It's because you've failed. Whether you didn't have the courage to go through the dating process with a woman, or no woman wants you, or you got married and now you're divorced. These are the options for women in the older singles ward, who themselves are wicked and disobedient because they didn't get married right out of high school at 16 years of age to get married to a returned missionary to be barefoot pregnant in the kitchen. Thus uneducated, not going on a mission, not getting a career. And so these women who are accomplished and intelligent, except for those who went into psychology, and thus BYU, or any of the other church religion or church schools, can't get married. There are no guys who have produced the fruit. And this is the abuse that the church has pulled on us by telling us that spiritual witness feelings are fruit. Because women think that, well, if a guy is demonstrating the fruits of accomplishment and is in the potential to be a bishop, stake president, or member of the 70 general authority, that he's the right one for her. The concept of building relationships by planting the seed and producing the fruit of that relationship, which, yes, it's the exact same process for producing babies. When the baby comes out of the womb, it's a sprout. You have to produce the fruit of your child to see how well you did. Ooh, parents don't like that. My parents, for example, my mom went to her grave knowing she failed with me. Her firstborn son, and she believes to her dying grave that she failed. And so as a Danite, that's where my Danite blood comes from, she had to harden her heart to not feel as guilty as she should have. Because she is to blame for how I became the black sheep of the family. And I just hear this tragic tale of other Danite Utahns here who are abusing their children. Oh my hell, Mormons. Have you not remembered the millstone thing? Just because there's not enough water in the Great Salt Lake doesn't mean you're not guilty. And all of the psychologists who help perpetuate this church lie of feelings are fruit. oh, you just have to feel your identity and that's who you are. Yeah, that's where it comes from. Psychologist is using the Christianized seed without fruit to destroy you. Back in the 80s, psychologists literally spoke saying that anybody who's gay is mentally retarded. They need to come and see us to deal with their problem. And then we'll zap them with conversion therapy. And so you think in the 90s they just changed and they're now good? As now all these people create other letters for LGBTQIAPO+. And you're still having to go to the psychologist who was the one who told you that that was your identity. And you're not seeing the bigger picture of how Trump is now going to have you locked up and electrocuted, if not murdered. That's also been in the news. It's coming. That whole debate about not allowing the one congresswoman to use the bathroom, that's what they're going to do. And I don't believe that the election, because I did the test. No, Trump did not win. A whole thing was set up to destroy America and then restore the world under the Illuminati in 2026. The anniversary. 250th anniversary. May 1st. If any of you survive, remember this video. And so, you can't have a functional relationship if you're not one. Yes, you are completely different. And our society is more diverse than anciently, where you both were hunters and gatherers, maybe even farmers and herdsmen. Life was much simpler. There wasn't much variation. But now, with the increased technology and capabilities that we have, you have got so many different options to choose from, and that's what's causing people not to make a choice, because they keep thinking, well, what if somebody better comes along after I get engaged? What if I say yes to this brunette and then a redhead comes along? And so, yes, my regrets of bailing on Leanne Murdoch. She wanted me. She was all in on me. And I just was stupid and thought that she was too good for me and that I wasn't good enough for her. And yet she chose me. She made the time for me. That's how I knew no other woman wants me anymore. Because Leanne never said, well, I've got homework to do, I've got class, I've got Relief Society presidency thing to do, I've got the sorority to run, and gilded a frame for it. She made the time for me, despite being the Woman of the Year. And so all of these other women in the singles wards, especially the older singles wards, I'm busy. They don't have the courage, honor, and integrity to tell me, "You're ugly, I don't love you, get away from me"? And then they get upset when other guys don't get that same clue. And then they wonder why they're so alone. No one is willing to develop a relationship, to take your two diverse upbringings and unite them to become one in a relationship. And it takes time. You have to realize what false information you were given and purge it, or you're going to destroy your relationship. That's like having stony, thorny soil. Those things are going to ruin any relationship you have. And so this is where the context of Ezra comes from when he's talking about the Jews having been held hostage in Babylon and now coming back to the land, and they're mingling with the Samaritans. They're not Canaanites anymore. That's your big clue. There are no more Canaanites. They don't even put Philistines here, which is interesting. This is not a literal history. And so they're bringing out some of the greatest hits of the enemy religions, the great and abominable churches. And so the Jews in real history have been assimilated by Babylon, then by Greek, and then by Rome, and then by Christians. And so the Orthodox Jews of today are not the pure Jews of pre-Babylonian captivity. Even though the Orthodox Jews, after their formation with the biblical Hebrew text, made the concerted effort to be racist, bigoted against the rest of the world in order to preserve their interpretation of the now Christianized scripture with the Jewish interpretation of Christianity. So they don't see this as a prophecy of the latter days, as I've gone over with you. And so likewise with Mormons. Even though we share the same religion, we share the same scriptures, if you grow up in Utah, you share the same experiences. If you're in California, you're an outsider, you're not the same. You're wicked. You're not true Mormons like the Danites of Utah. You did watch that video, right? True Mormons, the Danites. That's what they claimed. Joseph Smith is false and fallen. The Danites under Brigham Young are the true Mormons. That's how they thought. That's why they turned it Christian. And so this being a prophecy is about the two churches, the Jewish church of Joseph in the Book of Mormon and the Christianized one of Joseph in the Book of Mormon. There are, save, two churches, the Church of Russell Marion and the Church of Me. And as I said, my experiences on this with two failed marriages and legion of single sisters in the meat market of the singles wards has made it very clear that there is no way I can have a relationship and make it work with anyone who's been Mormon. Even an expo, they don't want me either. And this is where the church's abuse comes in, is because the doctrines of Lucifer to take away agency are instilled in Mormonism to think that it's the true Mormonism of Jesus. That we need to save all mankind in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom, and so we need to force people to obey our higher celestial law of prostitution, sex trafficking of women. And Mormons don't see this as criminal, abusive. And so Mormon women are sexually abusive towards their husbands that they do get married to, because they don't know sex ed. Nobody does. We're not taught it. Purposely sabotaged, to sabotage our relationships, to sabotage our marriages. And thus the family proclamation adds to that abuse. My mom thrust the family proclamation at me when she left me, Stephanie left me. She didn't point out which part that I was violating, but the only one that I could have been violating was not being rich. I just graduated from the University of Lethbridge. I had a full-time job that I was getting overtime for the Christmas season and was about to be promoted, if she didn't leave, to get a raise as well. And how is that the true Mormonism from Scripture? That because I'm poor, just starting out, planting the seed? Because I knew this doctrine the whole time. I'm pretty good at reading and understanding what I read. I'm not that illiterate. You know, the Zoramites, kicked out because they were poor. The whole pride cycle is based on wealth. When you're righteous, you prosper. When you're wicked, you're poor. And here it is being practiced in the church. In Utah, you purposely have segregated communities based on economics. You have the west side poverty and the east side new divisions of the houses on the hill that are filthy rich. And you've got the poor who steal from the poor in Utah, because they'll get locked up in prison if they steal from the rich. The government purposely under orders of the church to sabotage our lives, to ruin our marriages, to destroy any hope of happiness, of life, liberty, and property. And so this isn't a racial bigoted thing that Ezra is talking about. He's prophesying that the Danites are too far gone. You must conform to them, or you're the enemy. And there are Danite spouses who go so far as to murder their spouses, their children, because in their minds, you're wicked and need to die. So that's why Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow did what they did. That's why the news, over and over again, that Richens woman, prosecutors presented yesterday about how on numerous occasions through different drug suppliers was trying to obtain the drugs that was the result of the death of her husband. She knows, as a Mormon girl, not to do drugs. And yet, there she was, fully immersed in the drug culture, for which her husband died of it. Now, whether she actually drugged him to murder him, or something else was going on, the defense has yet to tell us and explain. They're trying to claim that she had nothing to do with it. And so I'm not buying that defense. You have other women, 8 passengers, with a psychologist helping her, now in prison, both of them, as she's torturing her kids on live YouTube video feeds, thinking she's being funny. See, this is the kind of relationship that I never wanted because my peers were so evil as a kid. This is why I want a woman in my life. And women are so abused that they don't want me. And so the holy seed is used here. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. They are plowing the holy ones. Joseph Smith, because there's another one that ties into this, leading up to the Noah's Ark story. The sons of God and the daughters of men. Joseph Smith changed it to the daughters of the sons of God are marrying out of the faith. And thus, the sons of those relationships are not active in the church. If a Mormon girl marries a non-Mormon or an ex-fo nevermo, you're not going to be active in the church. The woman may, when the kids turn 8 years old, desire to have them baptized in that church she grew up in. and then hadn't attended forever. And so if a bishop happens to come by, or visiting teachers or home teachers, they'll turn her against her husband so that she gets her children baptized. And those stories have been in the news. Church has very specific rules not to do that. Both parents must give consent. And I think they're allowing one parent, but that's not going to be good either, because if the other parent finds out that the spouse went behind his back or her back, then divorce proceedings ensue, and the church doesn't care about that because they're getting somebody back. They don't care about ruining heathen relationships. And that's their big focus on porn. They blame porn for the damage to the marriages when the church prostitutes the women. Because porn is prostitution. They're purposely deceiving you with their ignorance of Greek to lead you astray, because they don't want translation. They don't claim it as a title. But yeah, it makes it difficult to produce good fruit from a mixed faith marriage, because one or both of you are going to have to make sacrifices to your religion. And so yes, you can make the marriage work by making those sacrifices and becoming one with your new family in it. But you're not of the faith anymore. And so yes, there are plenty of examples of couples who have done that, who have betrayed their faith with the love that they had for the other and lived great, happy lives. That's not what Ezra is talking about. Because we're talking about Zion. We're talking about setting in order the temple to do away with prostitution, of bondage of Mormons, to stop lying to Mormons so that they now know the truth. And thus being the only people on earth who will not be at war trying to purge the human race for the rising up of the Illuminati in 2026. 250-year-old plot coup of the whole world, this year being for the United States. Because they need 2 more years for the rest of the world to fall. Which should happen pretty quickly, as 2020 was the test run. That went very well. And especially in 2008. The American housing crisis collapses and Greece went bankrupt. They almost didn't bail them out. So yes, what Trump is doing, he knows what will be the results. Utter destruction with these tariffs. So this is why the church is hoarding money. This is why the church is buying up land. It's because they are planning for the coup that they themselves have set in motion. They are the Danites on Mount Ephraim. They are the heathens. And so, coming out of Babylon to Zion, your spouse, who is an unbeliever, is not going to come with you. And so I've been telling you that at the end of videos leading up to the Feast of Tabernacles, both of them, about how you need to make sure that you're legally divorced with no court-ordered stipulations. Article of Faith number 12 still applies. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. But not if they're going to have us break the law. Trump broke the law, and now he's going to destroy the law. Technically, the government already did. Constitution has fallen. It is not hanging by a thread. Any Mormon who still thinks the Constitution will hang by a thread at some future time, because it's now been saved under Trump, but he's not Jesus, though. So this is the sad part, is that Trump is only going to help Netanyahu because of Jared, and thus Ivanka. But here in America, the Jews will be murdered. And Netanyahu will talk to him about it, and Trump will deny. Oh, this is a horrible thing. Yeah, I'll get right on that. We'll save your people. Because he'll be bribing Netanyahu with Trump's protection against Islam. And Netanyahu won't care what happens to the Jews in America. Or he'll be distracted away from it. As Trump will just flatter, pacify, and deceive him. Keep them unaware of what's going on in America. So, alrighty, there's Ezra for you. Real simple. That's why the 2-hour intro is, dear God, this is going to be an hour. So, we've got the calendar events for this year. The only thing leading up to Hanukkah is the Tabernacle Choir has a concert for Christmas planned for 3 days, the 19th, 20th, and 21st. And so that does apply only to Ezra 7 that I just went over with you. The setting in order of the temple and no more prostitution. Everything else is separate and distinct from that. So I guess see, now is the educated guess, which the uneducated would call speculation. Is that on December 2nd is the first day of Kislev. And so remember, it's the 1st of December at 6 p.m. That is the technical start of it. And so just like we did for November, just like we did for October, just as we did for September, this is why he didn't tell me when it's going to happen, because he knew I'd be pissed. Because remember, I didn't want to be this. I just wanted to know the answers. Nobody knew the answers, so I had to do the pioneer research to get the answers. And now that I've got the answers, oh great, I'm him. Pisses me off. But I did tell you, even though you got people who refuse to listen so that they can make false accusations against me. So clearly we're getting into Hanukkah. But the key thing that we need to see in the prophecy is the literal history on the 21st of Kislev, the destruction of the Danite temple. Just as the Jews with 9/11 for their two temples. And Hitler, lest we forget. Even though it was the 12th. But the 12th this year is 9/11, and thus Hitler gave his announcement. I guess I could check to see the calendar date, since I'm bringing it up. No. The 12th of December was the 22nd of Kislev in 1941. So the 9/11 in 1941 was the 1st of December. Okay. But the 22nd is two 9/11s. Which he knew of the Jews. He knew of the two temple destructions on 9th Ave. And so, being the 22nd of December, that's Sunday. And remember what I was hoping? I put it in the box. I gave up. And then last night, I've got it all planned out to be organized. No bugs. and that the fall of the church has to happen first because of the order of prophecy. Then the transfer. This has already happened for the government. We're waiting for the religion. And this is unbearable for Mormons. It's too complicated. I'm not sure I'm feeling comfortable about this. The church has to fall in order to save Mormons, to compel them to believe. And then that transition of authority to me, so I can then implement the Exodus plans and then implement the building of Zion plans. I mean, to get, oh my hell, to just fail It's just inconceivable for me. And so, to be on the 22nd, I don't see how the church can fall on the 22nd. They've got nothing planned for Sunday. Church most likely will be as the church had put out the news earlier this year, it's only for 1 hour. It'll be the primary reenacting the story from Luke about Jesus in the Book of Mormon. And so you're going to have family members all coming to the wards for that purpose. Even though I don't know about this valley. Are you leaving the state, or are people coming to the state for the 22nd when you'll be attending church for the 1 hour sacrament presentation? And that week then begins Hanukkah, which the second is the memorial of Monson dying in accordance with not only the sign in the heavens, but scriptural prophecy and revelation. And so the latter-day false prophet is going to get away with it and live forever? Yeah, not likely. So I'm paying very close attention. I'm watching, looking for the patterns. I've now solved my anomaly that I had after the Feast of Tabernacles came and went. Crap. And so I'm still wondering. The ideas I get in my head are not trivial. They're prophecies. Watch the video from yesterday while I'm going over the Book of Mormon and making commentary. And so, yeah, I'm now wondering, is it going to be the 22nd when the word goes out to all Mormons? We're canceling the Christmas thing to announce the church has fallen. Please come see me if you want to go to Zion. All the kids are crying. I wanted to sing. I had to memorize my one line. And grandparents come out. Our whole trip is wasted. Screw Zion. On with the show! Oh my God. Maybe that should be the title. Oh my God. Xmas Sacrament meeting. Hilarious. And so, yeah, that would be a very big Christmas surprise. Thank you, Santa. But again, I don't see any sprouting to give me any hope that there would be fruit for any of this. This is what frustrated me with tabernacles coming and going. I did everything. I fulfilled everything I was asked to do. I did my part. The scriptural prophecies have all happened on the revelations that they were supposed to happen. We're just waiting for the final four: fall, transfer, Exodus, Zion. That's it. That's all we have left. And so I don't see the fall coming. I see the church so powerful that the law won't touch them, like the law won't touch Trump. They're getting away with it. Cox, to ensure that the church is protected because of my videos, came out and says, here you go, here's all our undocumented. Oh, you want to wait until you come? Okay. He's a Danite. He's in the ledger. Oh my God. And so, yeah, this is the frustration that I have. I know the doctrine. I know how it works. I have seen the prophecies getting fulfilled. The fruit. I can now judge it. It's true. It's real. It's Jewish. But these final four, I am not seeing how the church is going to fall. I've exposed over 8.2K videos now about how the church is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. That they are in charge of this coup to restore the Illuminati to rule the world after 250 years. As the Danites, they called themselves, with the infiltration into Joseph Smith. They were Confederates in the South, Democrats of the KKK, and then Nazis, and GOP, flipping this the star into an inverted pentagram on the elephant with the campaign button of Nixon. That's what they do. Spread out, infiltrate, rise up in number, rise up in rank, take over positions of authority, destroy, and then New World Order. That's the pattern. They did it to Joseph. They're doing it to America. It's well underway. Trump's already planning the big celebration in 2 years. That's the frustration. I know it needs to happen. And the curse of Joseph Smith, yeah, I can see that happening. But not until the 2nd, that's the last day to do so, to remind Mormons, hey, remember? So I don't know. This is the frustration. I'm not seeing any sprouts to give me a clue as to what to expect. But I know what has to happen. I know that it needs to happen. I know that it should happen. I know the church isn't true, that they have no legitimacy to Joseph Smith or the Book of Mormon because they're purposely going to destroy them with their New World Order in 2 years from now, with the Salt Lake Temple dedicated. So I don't know. That's the part that worries me, is because I don't want to be given false hopes with the bombshell information I just gave you in this video, only to find out that, yet again, nothing. Up yours, Travis. Church is now true, even though it's been false this whole time. Just like in 1978, church is no longer racist. Now it's true. No! You can't produce good fruit from a bad seed. So, but yeah, the harvest is come and gone. And so I just, seriously? The dreams about tabernacles have now come and gone. And so now it's setting in order of section 85, verse 7 and 11 for the being in Zion and having the bishop's roll call of who chose to skip the and you have no idea that this is going to be your last Christmas, because once Trump takes over, the economy is going to fall. He has to make sure the whole world is fallen and utterly destroyed for 2026. But yeah, the fifth dark day of Hanukkah is also something to watch for on the 30th. Because that's in 2017, that was verse 3 of Revelation 12. That got merged with verse 4 in the Joseph Smith translation, which works for this year, with 4 being the stars falling from the tail of Draco the dragon. And so Perry Packer Scott didn't all die at the same time, but Scott, being the final one, died on Yom Kippur, as the lunar eclipses were all on the Exodus holy days, Passover and Tabernacles. So I see the patterns, but I'm not seeing a sprout yet that's going to lead to this. My government won't listen to me. They're purposely having America fall. I mean, I understood Barr wasn't going to do anything to do his job under Trump, but Merrick Garland to be literally a lame duck AG this whole time. He was put in specifically to do the job Democrats wanted him to do and needed to be done, and he didn't do it. And now all the cases are dropped against Trump. He literally can murder somebody and get away with it. And he's about to mass murder American citizens in the coming day. We need to get to Zion, or we're in big trouble.